What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, thanks for tuning in. I'm sure you can tell by the title of the video already, but today we are starting the series of tearing down, rebuilding, and upgrading the factory turbo for my 7.3 liter Powerstroke, specifically a late 99 to 03 turbo. The process will be pretty similar for all 7.3 turbos, but mine specifically is late 99 7.3 turbo. If you haven't seen the first video in this series of me kind of walking through the rebuild kit and the S300 turbine, or the S300 balanced turbine assembly that KC Turbo provided for us, I recommend you going to check it out. Like I said, we got the full 360 bearing rebuild kit right there, and then we have this absolutely gorgeous balanced turbine and compressor wheel assembly right here. That will be going in the turbo in the rebuild process. And of course, like I mentioned in the first video, per KC Turbo's request, when I'm done rebuilding this turbo, I'm going to be giving it away to one of you guys. So you're not going to want to miss out. In the first video I mentioned how to get entered for that. I'll go over briefly again, just so you guys know. Go back to that very first video I said. I'll link it up here in the corner and maybe put it down in the description. But go back to that video, leave a comment on it, subscribe to the channel, and then go on Instagram and follow KC Turbo's Instagram page. That's all you have to do to get entered to win this turbo. No cost to you. I'll pay shipping to get it there. If you ask me, it's a pretty darn good deal to have the chance to win a $500 or $600+ rebuilt turbo. Don't miss out on that opportunity. So we're going to get to work on tearing down this turbo. I'm going to go through step by step on how to do the full rebuild. Pretty exciting to do it. This is my first time, so I get to learn a little bit along the way, and hopefully this video helps out a lot of you guys that are looking at rebuilding your own turbo. You guys don't need to go with the whole balanced assembly. That is basically just a full upgrade. KC wanted to give the turbo away, and so they figured they might as well throw a nice upgrade in it for you guys. But as far as just rebuilding your stock turbo goes, you really only need that rebuild kit, which is not very expensive. I think it's under $100, and you got a fully rebuilt and actually somewhat upgraded turbo, because it is the full 360-degree bearing. So that's all you need. If you guys are interested in learning how, that's what we're going to be going through. Should be pretty exciting. So I don't want to ramble on too much longer, because I know this is going to be a long video. I'm not sure if it's going to be a 1 or 2 part series. Kind of depends on how long the video is getting while I'm editing it, and we'll find out from there. But for now, I think it's time to set you guys up on the tripod, and we'll get to work. I think we're good to go. Hopefully that's a decent camera angle for you guys. First things first, to start with, probably should have done this last night. Put some PV Blaster on some of these tougher, more baked on, rusted in bolts. I don't think these ones should be too bad. These ones might be tough. All the bolts on the exhaust housing might be tough, but we'll see. Hopefully it's not all too bad. Also, a quick tip: if you don't have a good penetrating oil or even WD-40, some ATF and rubbing alcohol works really well as well. I've used that. A lot of people have said it works well. I've used it. It seems to work well. I think I'm going to take this wastegate off to start with, so I don't have to worry about breaking it or anything, moving it around. Pretty simple to take the wastegate off. You got a little clip here holding it onto the pin. Then you got 2 10mm bolts right there. Now, a tip to getting the wastegate off is if the spring pressure is really tight, like I did on this one, you can't just pop it off that assembly. Just put a little compressed air into the outlet, or the inlet you see right there, and that'll actuate the rod, and you should be able to pop it off. So we got that off. That's actuating freely now. Go through, hit the rest of these bolts. One thing you're definitely going to need is a nice set of 12-point sockets. As far as I can tell, and as far as I know, every single one of these bolts on the turbo is a 12-point socket. So you're going to want to have those available. Grab that out of the toolbox. Somewhere in here. Here we go. Let's see, I think they're metric. But nice Tecton kit of sockets here. I've gotten a number of Tecton tools now. I've been super happy with them. I specifically got this kit for this rebuild. Nice impact rated 12-point sockets. Solid kit. Yeah, I'll link it down below if you guys are interested in looking at these kits. They're not all that expensive. I think they're maybe 20, 30 bucks tops. So I believe these are 8 mil. Yep, 8 mil 12-point sockets, or 12-point bolts all the way around. Cool. Give you guys a little toolbox pouring over here. Absolutely love these socket organizer trays. That's what I'm looking for. Alright, so we're basically just going to go through. I think I'm going to start on the compressor housing side. Start with that. And then we're just going through and taking off all of these different bolts all the way around the turbo. We got all the bolts out of the compressor side. So now when you're taking it off, if you are keeping your stock compressor wheel, be careful when you're sliding it off. It might require a little tap from a hammer just to break the O-ring seal that's been in there since it was installed in the factory. Yep, there we go. Now just carefully slide that off. There you go. Here's what the inside of the housing looks like. It's actually a lot cleaner than I expected. Then you got your compressor wheel, and this compressor wheel has a couple of dings in it, but it's actually in pretty good shape. Let me zoom in for you guys. Pretty good shape. You can see a couple of tiny dings on a couple of the fins. You can kind of see that one right there. But overall, it's in pretty good shape. It does have a little bit of wiggle to it, which is sign that the turbo starting to need a rebuild. It was still working pretty darn well for me, but probably good. I'm rebuilding it before the next person gets it. There you guys go. There is a rubber O-ring that goes all the way around this with the rebuild kit. Should come with a new one. But this one is actually not in too bad a shape. A little bit eaten up in a couple places from the oil, but not too bad. So on your exhaust housing, you have bolts that hold on your back pressure valve actuator, or back pressure valve right here, and there's, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 of them holding on this back section, and then there's going to be 4 holding on the inside there that we'll get to once we remove the compressor wheel. So now, take this off, just like that. And here you can see your exhaust back pressure valve right there. Mine is actually tack welded in place with that little plate you see right there, because when I ended up doing the delete pedestal, I didn't buy the I guess the delete valve part 2, which is this. If you are deleting your back pressure valve, you can buy a whole assembly, which is just a gutted version, one of these, or you can gut this yourself and put some freeze plugs in the top hole there and there. But that's what that looks like. Your turbine wheel is right in there, and then this is your wastegate actuator. Let me zoom in a little bit for you guys. There, you can kind of see that there. This is your wastegate actuator. So how it works is when you open up your wastegate, or when your wastegate opens up like this, it's actually creating a hole so that the exhaust gases don't have to go through your turbine wheel anymore. They actually go around it straight to the exhaust. So that's what your exhaust back pressure valve does. Your wastegate does right there. Alright, so now that we got our back pressure valve assembly off and our compressor housing off, what we have left to do is we're actually going to be putting a wrench on the compressor wheel and the turbine wheel, and we're actually going to be backing off and removing that from the assembly, or taking the compressor wheel off. So basically you just have to secure on here. You got I think it's a 16 millimeter wrench spot for it right there, and say locking pliers on that side. So we'll hold that in place while we take off our compressor wheel. There we go, starting to break free. Just used a screwdriver on this backside here between the vice grips. Get a little leverage. Come on, don't pop off now. There we go. She's free. There we go. And this is where we'll see the last 4 bolts we need to take out. Just like that. Got the factory wheel off. So now behind the compressor wheel we have these 4 more 8 millimeter bolts right there. So we'll go through and loosen those up. Should be able to pop this up. Just like that. So that's the back side of the compressor housing. Here's that one of the bearings. As you can see, now you understand what I was saying about the full 360 bearing instead of what it comes like from the factory. So now what we have left is 4 more bolts, one there, and in these holes. These ones are going to be tricky because I don't have a socket. I don't think I have a socket that fits in there, so we might have to hammer them out with a wrench, which is not going to be fun. Maybe spray a little more PP plaster on those ones. Alright, we are in luck. Able to find a little regular socket instead of the impact socket. So that should fit in there. It is a 5/16, which converted to 8 mil is, I have no idea, but it feels almost spot on, unless, if not the exact same. This is not certified 1/2 inch to 3/8 to 1/4. Don't judge me too hard, alright? Well guys, it took a little bit of persuasion and a little bit of heat, but we got it. And man, was it close. I'm not sure if you guys are going to be able to see this at all. There you go. She was just on the verge of getting stripped out. We got her. A little bit of heat. I did keep an eye on temperatures, try not to make sure everything got too hot. In all reality, the whole turbo gets up to hundreds of degrees while it's working anyways. But, you know, doesn't hurt to be careful. So we got it out. That is exactly why you have to be very, very careful when using an impact on stuff like this. Luckily, I felt it as soon as it started to do it. I stopped using it and was able to salvage it, but, you know, got to be careful. Now, I think this should just pop on off. I think I just about have the center section loosened up. Yeah. Just be careful lifting it up. The turbine comes out with it. There goes some of the bearings. The bearings are in it just like that. I believe this is called the center cartridge. Take this, as the instructions say, we'll just lightly tap it out.
All you gotta do is just tap it in. Just tap it in.
There's no rush on it. You're just slowly tapping it out. There we go. There you go. There you see the other bearings on that side. So this was in there about like this. About like that. Obviously we're not going to be reusing any of this stuff. And we can slide these off. Just like that. Just like that. That is pretty much completely disassembled. I do believe that this cap can come off. So we'll go through and really clean up everything really well that we're going to be reusing, which isn't a whole lot. I mean, it's the center cartridge here, and just all the main housing components. But other than that, it's almost all brand new going back in. It's about time to go back together. I think I will give you guys a little bit of a comparison of what the old wheels look like versus the new, and we'll see how long this video is getting at that point. Of course, like I said, in the rebuild kit, got the new 360 bearing, the spacer, the two bearings inside. Then we got some new, those 4 bolts that I took out of the center cartridge that one of them started to get stripped out on. Got replacements of those. As you can tell, they know those ones are hard to get out to, and then of course all the new seals for it. And then the little snap ring type things that go on the shaft here at the bottom that are hard to see because they're all covered in soot. It's kind of crazy how black that thing looks with all the soot on it. But got the new snap rings down there. So when I'm going to assemblies, I'm going to actually fill up one of these with oil so they soak in oil before putting it back in. But it's good to go. So a look at the new versus old. Here we go. So here you guys go. Give you guys a look at what the differences are. Hopefully from this angle you can kind of see how much larger the new S300 style shaft is, or turbine is. That is why it is so much more efficient and spools faster. It just has larger fins, better designed fins to pick up on the exhaust gases and spin the turbine shaft. That's a decent look at what it looks like side by side. S300, KC S300 is definitely larger. So now when we look at the compressor wheels, old versus new, you can really see the difference. Simple design there, and just the advancements in technology that we have from 20 years ago versus now, just so much more advanced in how the fins are set up. Obviously it's double fins instead of just the single straight or almost straight angular ones. This one is just meant to handle the airflow so much better. And again, this will stop the turbo chatter or turbo bark that you get with these stock fins. This, a lot of people asked on the previous videos, will this behave a lot like the Wicked Wheel 2? Essentially, yes, this is very similar to the Wicked Wheel 2. It just happens to come with the upgraded exhaust turbine as well. But there you guys go. There's a look side by side of what they look like. Definitely a large improvement. Overall, this shaft or this turbine is in, or compressor is in really good condition. Hardly any marks on the fins at all. Sometimes you open these up and they're just shredded. This one is pretty clean. Obviously, it's dirty from the CCV venting in, but it's in pretty good shape. But man, it has nothing on this thing. There you guys go. I'm sure this video is getting pretty long at this point. I will be splitting it up into 2 different parts. The full teardown is done. Next video, we'll be putting it back together with a new, beautiful, balanced assembly. All the new bearings. Got to go through, clean it all up pretty darn good. But I'd say it's going along pretty smoothly. All except for that very last bolt. Why is it always that way? Why is it always the very last bolt? Everything goes perfectly until then. Really, really happy that it didn't cause me more issues than it did. Took a couple heat cycles, spraying it with some PB Blaster, and it broke free. Thank goodness. Like I said, I can't recommend that you guys use the impact to break these free. It definitely did help and worked well for most of them, except for that last one, which is why you have to be very, very careful when you're doing that. So use your discretion. It's up to you. What do you want to do? Take it apart. But overall, I'd say it is not a complicated thing. Just take your time, and it'll slowly come apart. Like I said at the beginning of this video, when this turbo is done and complete, I'm going to be giving it away to one of you guys. How you get entered in to win that is go back to the first video where I first unbox all of this stuff. Leave a comment on the video. That's how I'm going to do a random generator to see who's getting drawn. Follow or subscribe to the channel. And then go on to Instagram, to KC's Instagram page, and follow them. That's all you have to do to get entered in to win this. Doesn't cost you guys anything. So if you are interested in the possibility of winning a free turbo, I would say is worth, the kit alone is $450. I'm not including the labor and love that I'm putting into it. Pretty darn good value, if you ask me. I'm going to stop rambling. This video is long enough. Make sure to stay tuned for the next one when we put back together. I'll catch you guys next time.